All right. So it's been a while. I think since May 21st, since the last time I posted. I've kind of been sitting on most of my investments. Um, I'm not sure how much liquid money I had. Probably sitting around somewhere $400 to $600, and I think $2,500 total net liquidating value. So today is June 5th. Friday. This is after the close of market, and I'll show you where we're at and some of the things that were done. I got out of a couple of positions here. Let me see. This Boeing number is false right now. I'm pretty sure, so don't don't trust that. um, but anyway, let's see what we've done over the last couple times. So I think let's see if it was the 21st. So I bought into Tesla for 29 May. It expired worthless. So I was down $100 off of that contract right here. It didn't make it to its price. Funny thing about it is the very next trading day. So on, what is it, the 31st or 1st, it went up to like 875. So that's the difference in options, is you got to have the expiration date at the right date. So the strike price was right, but the expiration date was not. And that's what caused that $100. Let's see, I sold Apple at 77 cents. I sold that just to get rid of a couple contracts. If we look down, I believe I bought a couple apples earlier. Probably a little bit earlier. But that's the other thing about Tesla. So if you remember, I sold some Tesla earlier, 85 cents, 116, 247, $340. So I sold some Tesla earlier. So with that last $100, that last contract, I was pretty much just waiting to see if it expires at full value, which it did not. Let's see what else. We got into some Zoom. If you all can remember that Zoom play that I did a couple weeks back for their earnings, I ended up selling Zoom at $117, and then also two more contracts a little bit later, almost at value of $71. We bought into Zoom at $66 right here, 4 contracts. So that's a positive. It had reached a lot of its value. And by that point, I wanted to get a little bit closer to the earnings date, which was June 2nd. And so I came back and bought some more June 5th options, and I lowered it. So my previous one was 195. This one is 177.50 to 180. And then we sold that for 175 right before earnings on the 1st. Right. So the thing about it is, if we look at Zoom, let's see if we can look at Zoom real quick. I'll show you this real quick. So I bought it, I'm not sure, probably sometime back here, maybe a little bit further into this, right? And I bought it for the earnings in hopes that the volume and the volatility would drive up the price, which it did. Their earnings date was on the 1st. So on the 1st, this thing closed at 204. What was the first? Yeah, I think it was the 2nd, something like that. It closed at 204. So my strike price was around here, 77 or so, and it was way up right before earnings. So I said I can sell it at, what was it, 175 each contract, or I could risk losing it all, because earnings, you don't know which way it's going to go. It could go up, but it also dropped down. So I weighed the risk and I decided to go ahead and sell it for a profit. What else we got? So the other thing, I got into Google. I bought shares for $95 for Google to reach $14.95 or $1,500 rather by 19th of June. Right now, those shares are worth $170. Bought back into Boeing at a lower price. So I'll explain that one to you also. So if we look at the chart on Boeing, what I was looking at is this here. So I charted some people call it support and resistance, some people call it floors and ceiling, right? So I've been charting the floors and ceiling, how it, if you can see, it would drop and then it would bounce pretty much back up to a certain point, drop to a certain point, bounce up, but it never really broke either one of those points, below or above, right? So if we extend that line out until this day here, right there, the 3rd, it closed above this red line, right? So it closed above that red line right there, that trend line, which means to me it's on a breakout. It's ready for a breakout. That's an indicator that it's going to trend upward. And as you can see, it went from 150 something and all the way up to $205 in the next 3 days. So once it closed at this trend line here, I decided to buy for a higher price, a higher strike price, in order to capitalize on that. So I bought Boeing at the strike price of 192, 195. And I bought 2 contracts for $70. Wish I had bought more, but we'll talk about that in a second. And I was able to sell those contracts for $201. So I made in the less than a week, 3 days, I made $130 per contract. Not bad, right? So here's where we are now. This, like I said, this Boeing number is off of my long-term strikes or positions rather. I don't think it's at $250 per position, because it's still $100 away from reaching the lowest strike price. So this $2,000 is probably a false number. I'd say maybe the profit and loss for the day is somewhere around $600 to $800. We'll say 800 because it did jump up pretty good, which means this bottom line here is 1,600 off. So I would say I'm sitting somewhere around $4,000. But what I want you to look at is the available dollars, right? So if you look at the available dollars, it's $1,291. We started off with 600 available dollars, period. Net liquidating value, that's all we had. Right now we're sitting on $1,291 in cash, and we still have stocks that are growing in value. So that's what we're doing. I've been taking the cash off the board, and then reinvesting it and making sure that I don't dip below a certain amount. So whereas now, you saw before, I bought 2 contracts in Amazon. I got into Celsius for 6 contracts. I bought 2 contracts of Facebook, or 4. I've been usually buying 4 to 2 contracts to make sure that I don't, get rid of all of the available dollars I have, that I always have some capital to work with. Now I can start buying more contracts. So instead of 2, 4, 6, I might start buying 6, 8, 10, right? And that's going to increase the amount of money and profit on the other end of it too. So yeah, that's where we are. I'm going to put the 4,000 as a net liquid value because I feel that's more correct than the 5,800. But either way, we've been crushing it so far. If you look at from 600 to 4,000 in a matter of, I think we've been going about 2 months maybe, and we haven't put any other money in. So we've done six and a half time multiple is what I've gotten off my $600. So pretty good. All right, till next time. Sorry it's so long, but I'm gonna catch up. By the way, I'm only gonna do these things probably once a week, unless I end up getting more and more like questions, or I see trades that I'm gonna capitalize on in the middle of the day. But other than that, yep. All right, have a good one.